Alright, so we're back inside. Like I said, it was pretty dark, but just a reminder that we need to be getting enough sunlight and going outside and exposing ourselves to that, but in safe amounts, so that we can make enough vitamin D. So now that we have gone over our meal planning, I kind of wanted to just talk for 5 or 10 minutes about some goals that you individually would like to set for yourselves. This can be, like I said, just, hey, I want to eat 2 more servings of fruit this week, or hey, this is my whole meal plan, this is what I want to do. So is there anything that from making your meal plan you feel like you want to do coming up as a goal?
I really like the menu section of the meal plan, and it got me thinking before I start meal planning, we probably need to do a better job like grocery planning, and like, because I caught myself as I was writing stuff in the menu, like I didn't want to write it down unless I could convince myself it was healthy in some way. And I feel like that would be a better way to make a grocery list, because so often we're just like, oh, what are we going to feel like eating this week? But instead, if we had like a menu bank like this in mind, I feel like I could be like, okay, but what's something healthy that will contribute towards us trying to have a better menu for the week? So that's kind of, I guess my goal is like a step earlier than this, but inspired by this.
I think for me, one thing that I'm working on right now, after putting this together, is just cutting out as much sugary drinks as I can. So I've been trying to drink only water, and then milk with breakfast, and sometimes chocolate milk with dinner. But I've been trying to cut out soda or like super sugary juice. A lot of juice that you see, check and see how much of it is actually juice, because a lot of it is just, it'll say like 1% juice. So if you're gonna drink juice, try to get the ones from concentrate. You can always dilute it too, so you can mix it like halfway with water. Usually it's gonna taste about the same. But for me, I'm trying to cut that out, and then also eat more whole grains. So instead of just white bread or white flour, I try to use more whole grains, so whole wheat bread or raw bread and things like that. Do you have any other goals or anything?
I know when I go out to eat, like what they serve you is not a normal portion size. So just like going ahead and splitting it, and I did that successfully once last week.
Nice.
And then eat it for lunch the next day, but just not overeating where you just can't do anything after dinner.
It would be good to even like ask for the box at the beginning of the meal or something to go ahead and put that. That's really good.
That's really smart. Especially when you go out, like when you go to a restaurant, you have a little bit less freedom than if you're grocery shopping. You can't be like, oh well, let me go get this type instead of this. Like when you're at a restaurant, you can always have like this given menu instead of items you can choose from. She's got something to say too. She's setting goals this week. But I think it's that's a really good point in restaurants too. Just pre-portioning your meals. Just go ahead and ask for the box at the beginning. I think that's really cool. I think it can be more tempting at a restaurant to just eat whatever's put in front of you. You know, you kind of feel like, oh, I need to eat it all, so show that I'm like grateful for this food that someone else may have bought me, or whatever the case may be.
Or like if you're sitting around talking for like 30 minutes to an hour after you eat, like I'm the worst at just like, I'll just keep nibbling on it even when I've been done forever.
I feel like this is all really great stuff, not just for when you're lactating, but just in general.
Yeah.
But sometimes it takes a tiny human being you're responsible for to give you the motivation you need.
That's a good point. I mean, knowing that what you take in is affecting your baby is also really important, and a really good motivator to be like, oh, let me kick this in the butt. Let me, adopt some healthier diet choices and stuff like that. That's a really good point. Whatever motivates you, use that to continue to motivate yourself to, not just set this one goal like, oh, I'm gonna not drink sodas, but like, okay, I'm not gonna drink sodas, but then I'm also gonna drink, my recommended amount of water, not just one bottle. I'm gonna drink this many ounces, or hey, let me get some more fruit instead of a Debbie cake or crackers or whatever you may snack on during the day. I really like that. What about you, Michelle? Because I know you already eat pretty healthy, so is there anything that you think you could do?
I don't think there's anything I'd change food-wise, but rather my schedule's so off, really listening to my body so I don't easily overeat, because like my breakfast is at like 3 in the morning, and then my lunch is at 9, and then my dinner is at like 4 or 5. It should be at least, but I still eat. I find myself eating at the same time as everyone else,
Yeah.
So I should like,
Even though your schedule's like.
yeah. So I think I need to, there's still room for me to listen to my body more.
And I think that's really important to think about for women that are lactating right now too, because as you're breastfeeding, you're kind of listening to your baby a lot. And like Anna was saying earlier, she goes to sleep at 12 and then they wake up at 5? And like your baby may wake you up in the middle of the night or whatever the case may be. So Michelle's example of her work schedule being off is really similar to a woman that's lactating. You kind of just, you
Good
sleep
point.
when you can sleep and you're awake when they're awake, and you kind of follow their schedule. So that's a really good point. Just trying to make it to where you're not just eating when other people eat, you're eating when you need to eat, and what works best for you. So I like that a lot. Alright, so we can do questions now. If y'all need to ask me any questions. Obviously I'm not a lactation consultant, so I can't give you like breastfeeding technique tips, but anything nutrition oriented. Sarah?
Does sunscreen block out vitamin D?
So
That's
what
a good
happens is the sunlight hits your skin, and after a certain amount of time, that's when you start to synthesize vitamin D. So if you're covering your skin either with clothes or sunscreen, it is blocking it. So sunscreen does make it to where you're not making vitamin D. So dermatologists recommend anytime you're in sunlight, you're always wearing vitamin D. But a lot of nutritionists,
You mean wearing sunscreen?
what did I say?
Wearing vitamin D.
I'm wearing sunblock, sorry. Wearing sunblock, so you're not damaging your skin from the UV radiation. But a lot of nutritionists value sunlight to make vitamin D, since it is so available and free and easy, and your body really likes that method of making vitamin D. And so it's up to you. You have to weigh the risk yourself. You know, sun damage versus making vitamin D. A lot of nutritionists will say, you know, before you put on your sunscreen, be out in the sun for the amount of time that you're supposed to. I know there's a lot of online calculators and guides and stuff to see how long you need to be out according to your location and where you are above. There's a certain line, I think it's like right above South Carolina, where in the winter you're no longer making vitamin D, even if you're in bright sunlight. And so I think we're right under that line, but we're so close enough to it to consider it year according to the season. But a lot of them recommend being out in the sun that long and then putting on your sunscreen, so it's kind of up to you. And how many days you're going to be out in the sun. If you have already been out for a couple of days, you can go ahead and put on that sunscreen before you go out. And then just being safe and making sure you're not burning, you're not, you know, getting super tan, you know, because even a tan is sun damage, so.
Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions?
What was that thing that you said of all the different species that produce milk? Human milk has the least amount of this in it.
Yeah, it has the least amount of casein, so that's like one of the proteins.
I was wondering what that did.
It's just the protein that's in there. So like when you eat, you want to get a certain amount of protein. It's just one of the proteins, casein, whey, and then mucin that are in human breast milk. We just have the least of it, but we have the most lactose.
Okay.
So it's just the composition of it and how much of each is in there, and it kind of changes the balance of casein and whey as you go along and the type of milk that you're producing, either colostrum, transitional, and mature milk. And also formulas will often contain casein and whey as well. So if your baby is going to have a milk allergy or something, usually you can try to find elemental formulas that the proteins are broken down so they don't recognize it as casein or whey from cow's milk, and it kind of makes it a little bit easier. It's like hydrolyzed, I guess, hydrolyzed protein that may help them if they have that allergy, but obviously talk to your doctor, and there's specific formulas that are made for that, but it kind of depends. So that's another kind of a challenge of formula feeding that you can see, is if it's from milk, you kind of have to change some of those proteins around and kind of the amount of them to look a little bit more like human milk. Any questions, Anna? Are you good?
I'm good.
Good. All right. Well, I think it's a good time to wrap this up. Thank y'all for coming and for letting me come to your meeting and talk about this with y'all. It's been really fun, and I hope you learned a lot. I hope you have a breast day.
Bunch.
I hope you noticed that
It was a great
the
presentation.
beginning of the thing, it said breast nutrition practices, and it was supposed to be like a pun on best. So I tried. I'm not a punny person, but I gave it a shot. But y'all are welcome to send me any questions you have, or if you want me to send you the recipe, I can do that as well. Like I said, I'll be graduating in December, so hopefully I can be out on the market and be ready to provide you with some recommendations about them. So thank y'all for having me.